How's it going, everybody? I'm here for Troubleshoot, and welcome back to another video. Mafia Power Has a Price was released over 2 years ago now, and I remember when it was released, because it was the first time ever that an entry in the Mafia franchise wasn't met with mostly negative reviews, or just generally mixed reviews. This was the first one that came out that was actually pretty well received. And while it did get some criticism, it was for things like the ending, which apparently is quite controversial. But other than that, this game was generally pretty well received by both critics and fans of the series. Me personally, I thought it was a great entry in the franchise. It brought back the linear storytelling that the series is known for. It brought back the excellent level of polish and atmosphere. They got rid of the terrible multiplayer from Mafia 3, and they went back to doing what made the Mafia games good in the first place. I do have to say though, while I did enjoy this game, there were still some issues that I had with it. In my review, I talked about how it felt like a missed opportunity, because in that empty open world, I felt like there could have been something more. But other than that, I enjoyed my time with the game, and I think it's definitely worth playing if you haven't already. However, Mafia 4 is officially in development and set to release sometime in 2023, and it's being developed by a brand new studio called 24 Entertainment, who is based in the Czech Republic and Slovakia. Now, the interesting thing about this new studio is that they aren't a brand new studio. See, Mafia Power Has a Price was worked on by a team inside of Hangar 13, but they weren't the only ones. The studio that handled the actual development of the game was a studio in the Czech Republic called Warhorse Studios. They are the ones that actually developed Kingdom Come Deliverance, a medieval RPG that was also really well received. So 24 Entertainment is basically just the rebranded version of that studio. The original announcement trailer was released back in January, and it didn't show us anything gameplay-wise. It's just some imagery of the Italian countryside, a burned-down church, a horse running through the streets of what appears to be Naples, and a pair of feet walking away from a car. All of these things don't tell us much about the game, but it does seem to indicate that this will once again be set in Italy. Of course, the previous 3 games were all set in different parts of the US, so it would make sense for them to change it up and go somewhere else for the next one. Shortly after the announcement, we got some details on the game's setting and time period. According to the official website, the game will be set in 1950s Italy at the end of the era of organized crime, which I find pretty interesting because I think this sets up an interesting dynamic, where you're playing as mobsters during a time where their power is waning. I think this could lead to some interesting story beats and character moments if done right. We also got some more info on the characters, including the main character, who appears to be named Luca, and he'll be played by the legendary actor Tony Dandra. We also know that the voice cast includes actors like Tom Hopper, who will play the role of Mario, and Kevin Spacey, who will play the role of Don Salvatore. That's right. Okay, Kevin Spacey is returning to video games after being basically canceled following allegations of sexual misconduct. This move has drawn some criticism, but I'll save that for later because there is a lot more to talk about regarding the game. The gameplay reveal happened a few months ago, and it gave us a look at what appears to be turn-based combat. Yes, you heard me right, turn-based combat. What I find interesting about this is that this isn't like a tactics game or something like XCOM or Final Fantasy Tactics. These games typically have turn-based combat because the game makes you pause the action and issue commands. This looks to be turn-based in the same way that games like Hitman 3 are turn-based, where the action doesn't technically pause, but you have to wait until certain things happen before you can do something yourself. If this is the case, then I think it might work well for a game like Mafia because those games aren't really known for their intense gunfights. Now, it's also possible that this is simply a cinematic trailer and not an actual gameplay demonstration. But if that was the case, they probably would have made it a bit clearer. Either way, it does appear that we are getting some sort of Mafia game with real-time combat that's similar to the previous entries, but with some added elements. We also saw a little bit of the cover system in action, and it seems to work in a similar way to the previous games. You can press the cover button to take cover behind any object, and your character will automatically take cover and start firing at the enemy. Whether or not they will implement the advanced cover system that Mafia 3 had remains to be seen. Personally, I found that cover system to be very clunky and frustrating, but I could always just be bad at the game. Then, of course, we got the announcement of the Season Pass, which revealed that the game will have DLC. One of the chapters will apparently be set in the French Quarter of New Orleans, And while the game is set in the 1950s, the DLC will be set in the 1960s. This is odd because it doesn't seem like this will be a direct sequel or even take place in the same universe as the main game. As far as I know, they haven't said anything about it being a spin-off, but the fact that it's set 10 years later with completely different characters makes me think that this will be some sort of spin-off. Hopefully this won't be like the awful DLC that Mafia 3 had that took place in the 1980s. That was just a horrible addition to the game, and thankfully it didn't affect the main story at all. Now, as for the rest of the plot details, we don't really know anything except for the synopsis on the Steam page, which says that players will take on the role of a young gangster named Luca and follow his rise to power. Now, the announcement trailer also showed us that Luca will have to make tough decisions that will have consequences no matter what he chooses. So it does seem like our choices will matter in this game. And considering that this is a Mafia game, I'd assume that we will once again be making moral decisions that will determine the fates of certain characters. Now, I mentioned earlier that the inclusion of Kevin Spacey was a controversial decision. While I'm disappointed in the man for what he's allegedly done, I don't think it's fair for me to judge him or say whether or not he should be allowed to work or not. He has been accused of, but never convicted for any of these crimes. I will say that I am a bit worried about this move, because I don't think the backlash against this game will be very severe, but it could definitely hurt sales. I mean, just look at the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 reveal. People were furious that they used the same footage twice in the reveal trailer. And while that situation was absolutely hilarious, it shows you that people are quick to jump on stuff like this. So it's entirely possible that this backlash will hurt the game's sales. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Overall, I'm pretty excited for the game, especially since the last two games weren't very good. But with this one being developed by the studio that made Kingdom Come Deliverance, I think it's going to be pretty good. Of course, it will have to do a lot of things differently to stand out compared to the other games in the franchise. But with the new setting, characters, and time period, I think it has the potential to be the best game in the series. How about you? Are you looking forward to Mafia? Definitive Edition? Or are you not interested? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content. See you next time.